Good afternoon. This is the September 26, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustments regular meeting. My name is Annie Wing, and I will be chairing this meeting. So I will now call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll so we may verify the presence of quorum.
Board Member Callahan is absent. Eichholz?
Here.
Grants-Korsch?
Here.
Hutchins?
Here.
Ingram?
Aye.
Johannesson is absent. Perry is absent. Smikarova is absent. And Wayne.
Here.
There are 5 members present.
Thank you. And with that, we'll proceed to our agenda, and a copy of which should have been posted to public access to the city's legislative information management system, available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. Is there a motion to approve this agenda?
Second.
Perfect. Any discussions? And seeing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Indicate by saying no. And that motion passes and the agenda is approved. All the board members should have seen a copy of the minutes from the September 12th, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? And seeing there is none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Against by saying nay, and any abstentions?
Hutchins abstention.
Thank you. That motion passes, and the meeting minutes from the September 12th, 2024 meeting is approved. So, Mr. Ellis, are there any petitions or communications?
Vice Chair Wayne, there are no petitions or communications this evening.
Thank you. So, general instructions for each discussion item. There will be a time where I open it up for public hearing, but first I will read the agenda number and the address of the project and state whether it is slated for consent, continuous, withdrawal, return, or discussion. So, going through the items, agenda number 5, 4917 Russell Avenue South. This item has been withdrawn. Agenda number 6, 4441 Upton Avenue South. This is a discussion item. Is there anyone here that plans to speak for this item or against this item? Perfect. And I'll make sure that you have signed in with the clerk, and I'll call you when it's time for your testimony. So let's go ahead and get started. Agenda number 6, Ms. Brandt. Did I forget to approve the agenda? No, there was no consent item. Oh, okay. Yeah, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All right, apologies, Ms. Brandt.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Wang, members of the board. Application item number 6 for 4441 Upton Avenue South. The request before you is an application to construct a new 2-family dwelling, which will require 3 variances, one to the floor area ratio, 1 to the allowed height of the structure, and a 3rd to permit development on or within 40 feet of the top of a steep slope in the Shoreland Overlay District. The subject site is an interior lot. It measures 50 feet wide by 100 feet deep. So it is a little bit shorter than a standard city lot, but it is a little bit wider than a standard city lot as well. IT, if I could get the document camera on, that would be great. So it is a little bit shorter and a little bit wider than a standard city lot. However, the overall square footage is exactly at the standard for city lots. There is an existing 2-family dwelling on the site which is proposed to be demolished. They have submitted a wrecking review which has received approval from our heritage preservation staff. It looks like they're just awaiting a few more sign-offs from utility companies in order for that to be issued. The site, as we can see on the existing conditions survey, the site pitches quite significantly down towards the rear. So the front of the on the left-hand side of the sheet is the tallest point of the property. It then slopes down towards the rear. At the front lot line, the elevation is 906.8 and slopes down to 894.6 at the rear lot line, with then a 6-foot retaining wall. And the adjacent property to the rear is at about 888. Overall, the property is in a low-density residential area. It is close to Lake Harriet. As I had mentioned, one of the variance applications is to increase the floor area ratio from the allowed 0.5 to a proposed 0.88. This is largely due to the slope of the site and the existence or the exposure of the basement. Staff finds that slope is a practical difficulty with regards to meeting this floor area ratio requirement. As some of the board members may know, the basement of a single-family or two-family dwelling is typically not included in the overall bulk measurement of a property, except where it is exposed more than 42 inches for more than 50% of the perimeter. And that measurement is taken from the pre-construction grade. So because of the slope on this site, the basement does meet that exposure and is therefore included in the floor area ratio measurement. Were this a non-sloped lot and they were able to meet a standard basement exposure, meeting that 42-inch exposure requirement, the FAR would be 0.498, which would be less than that 50% requirement. So because of the kind of unique condition of the property sloping to the rear, the property will, from its front, appear to be a standard level of basement exposure. If I can find the front elevation in here. So from anyone walking past on the sidewalk would not appear to have any sort of unusual amount of basement exposure. It's only as the site slopes towards the rear that that exposure really starts to become noticeable. And for this reason, staff finds that the proposal is meeting the spirit and intent of the ordinance and the comprehensive plan. Additionally, this is why staff finds that the property will not alter the essential character, again, because it wouldn't read to the public as anything larger than a standard 2-unit dwelling, will not affect the use or enjoyment of nearby properties or health, safety, or welfare. The second variance in question is to increase the height from the permitted 28 feet to 33.36 feet. This is largely due to, if we can zoom in a little here, the existence of a rooftop chimney. The dwelling itself does meet the standard required 28-foot height requirement. It's just the chimney that is extending above that. And within the Shoreland Overlay District, we don't have any height exemptions for rooftop equipment. For non-shoreland properties, there are exemptions for rooftop mechanical equipment and things of that nature that get exempted from the height. That does not apply here in the Shoreland District. Staff finds that practical difficulties do not exist on the site with regards to the height increase request. The building code does not require as much separation from the rooftop to the chimney as is proposed here. And so it's not a matter of trying to meet a health or safety requirement. Staff also finds that this request is not in keeping with the spirit and intent of the ordinance and the comprehensive plan. The intent of the ordinance is to comply with state DNR regulations to limit the visibility of structures from the protected water, in this case, Lake Harriet. Staff does find that this would not alter the essential character of the area or present a detriment to health, safety, or welfare. The third variance at hand is the variance to allow development on or within 40 feet of the top of a steep slope in the Shoreland Overlay District. Staff finds that in this case, practical difficulties do exist, which is the presence of the steep slope a condition not created by the applicant. The majority of the site is on this slope of 18% or greater, and so any development on this site would require a variance. Their proposal meets the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan and does not present a detriment to health, safety, or welfare or alter the essential character. The additional shoreland findings have also been met. They will be required to submit and have approved an erosion control plan as they go through the permitting process, will be reviewed by public works officials to make sure that they are engaging in proper erosion control measures. The development is not anticipated to generate any additional watercraft. Staff recommends then that the board approve the variance for floor area ratio, deny the variance for height increase, and approve the variance for development in the Shoreland Overlay District. And I am available for questions.
Thank you. And one comment, let the record show that Board Member Smirkova has joined us. Any questions from board members? Hutchins?
Thanks, Chair, Vice Chair, anyway. Can you answer it? Stupid question. This is not an HVAC chimney. This is just a enjoyment fireplace second story, right? Because it looks like the one perspective, it has a window or a sliding door underneath, so first floor. So this is just a chimney for a enjoyment one, right?
Vice Chair Wang, Board Member Hutchins, that is correct. There is a fireplace on the roof that is being served by this chimney, as well as an additional fireplace on the second floor being served by this chimney as well.
Thank you.
Any other board questions? Questions from the board? And I see none. So let me open this up for a public hearing. So if you would like to speak to this item, come up to the podium one at a time, speak clearly and loudly. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, Giuseppe Caruso. I'm currently at 2847 East Lake of the Isles Parkway.
Perfect. You have 10 minutes for your testimony.
Awesome. I'm Giuseppe Caruso. My wife and I own this duplex in question, 4441 Alpton Avenue South, and it's currently used for a rental property. Like I said, I currently live on the Lake of the Isles neighborhood. Like many empty nesters at our age, we have started to realize that our current home won't allow us to comfortably live at age and place. So we began exploring other options. We would love the opportunity to rebuild this duplex into a owner-occupied duplex. So we partnered up with PKA and Hague Home to design a home that would allow us to age in place while staying true to the character of Linden Hills neighborhood and supporting the goals of the city of Minneapolis. Our design focuses on maintaining a current housing density on the site, designing something that fits well within the neighborhood, fixing the existing variance issues while minimizing the need for new ones, creating an adaptable space that will allow us to live there for many years to come. We're so grateful for the support of the approval from our neighbors and neighborhood council. It's been a great collaborative effort. We also worked closely with city staff over the past several months and appreciated their recommendation to approve the shoreland and FAR variance. As for the story variance height, the key challenge we're facing is a pre-existing steep slope of the site. Now I'm going to hand it over to Chad Healy for PKA to highlight a few important design details related to the height stories. We're excited about the potential of the project and hope it comes to life.
Thank you. Can you pause here for a second if there's any questions from board members? Hutchins?
Thanks. Thanks for your testimony. Thanks for coming down. I think the main thing people are going to be curious about, variance A is recommended for approval. Variance C is recommended for approval. So just speaking about the increase of the height, the maximum height, and it's due to the decision to put a chimney up there.
Right.
What about that property? Because we have to find legal precedents, or no, I shouldn't say legal precedents, legal findings about what about that specific piece of property requires you to put the chimney in to go outside of zoning code. what about that property would lead us to find findings for that? Is there something specific that specific piece of property has that we don't see here?
No, but Chad Ely can definitely speak to it.
Okay, thanks.
Also, thanks.
Questions from any other board members? No, you're good.
Thank you.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Chad Healy, 7919 West 23rd Street, St. Louis Park.
Thank you.
So I think that can I ask Alyssa one question just as a clarification? Is that okay? Or not? We're talking about the chimney height, right, in all. So there's a fireplace on the upper level that does require a chimney?
Pardon me, Rachel.
It's at your discretion as the chair.
Oh.
Let's hold it towards the end
Sure.
for staff.
Yeah, so I'll just explain why the chimney's there. I mean, we do have a fireplace on the second level of the home that's in the family room, a living room, that would require a chimney. Since we had a chimney there already, we were hoping to incorporate a chimney on the roof deck. If that is what is the variance, we were not aware that specifically was what this variance was about. If that's what this variance is about, this last one that has not been approved, we're happy to eliminate the rooftop chimney, or not the whole chimney we need for the main level one, or the upper level one, but the rooftop fireplace. We're happy to remove that to gain approval. And then reduce the overall height of our chimney to just what is required by code.
Thank you. Board members, questions? Hutchins?
Thanks, Chair Perry. Thanks for getting up. Clarification from staff, if we would. If they eliminate the height of the chimney, they're in compliance for the height?
Vice Chair Wang, Board Member Hutchins, the board would still need to approve an in lieu thereof height increase if the proposed chimney were to exceed 28 feet. So the approval would not be for the current proposal of 33.6 feet, but would be an in lieu of. Mr. Ellis, if you have any questions on the wording thereof, or work with you on that.
Okay, so just to be clear, if they take the chimney off the roof, which knocks the chimney down to the legal height maximum, they wouldn't even have to seek variance B then, correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members? See, there's none. Do we have any other public testimonies? And I see none, so I'm going to use this opportunity to close the public hearing. Thank you for your testimony.
Thanks.
So with that being said, board members, comments? Grant Scorch?
First off, I want to appreciate the staff's report. I really, really like the idea that you did the analysis of if this had been a flat slope for the FAR and instead of the steep slope. So it explained the basement really well, so thank you. So I just want to say I'm going to be in support of the staff report.
Thank you for that. Any other board comments? Hutchins?
Thanks, Chair Wang. Can I make a motion if you'd allow it?
Yes.
I'd go ahead and move staff findings for variance A, B, and C, especially looking at what the testimony from the applicant was, their willingness to change the height, so they're essentially not seeking B if that's the issue. So I'd move staff findings, variance A approval, B denial, C approval.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Will the clerk call the roll, please? Oh, yes.
I think it needs to be written such that the variance is denied, and then they have to submit the
Can you
correct
move?
drawings.
Excuse me.
The variance should be denied, but you have to submit the correct documentation to actually gain approval. Because either they have to, rescind their application for said variance, they're not going to do it and not going to apply for it, or we're going to deny it and they have to reapply with the correct stuff. Because right now, the only thing that exists is not in code. The motion should be that you move staff findings, but also that they have to resubmit.
Vice Chair Wing, board members Karova. I think, honestly, I think the just moving staff findings will accomplish that. We do note for both A and C that submittal of documents are required. We wouldn't be able to approve anything that was above or violated code in that instance anyway, so they wouldn't be able to move forward without. If they kept resubmitting the same thing, they would either need to apply for another variance, although they wouldn't be, if denied tonight, they wouldn't be able to come back for that exact same variance for over a year. I mean, if they made modifications, they could, come back for another variance, but otherwise, if they make the modifications of the plans, they can move forward with the approvals on A and C and make changes that would be, allow the height.
Okay.
All right, just reconfirming the motion in the second. No changes. All right, will the clerk call the roll, please?
Eichholz,
Aye.
Grants-Korsch,
Aye.
Hutchins,
Aye.
Ingram,
Aye.
Smikarova.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
Thank you. So we have adopted staff findings, so you may talk to a city staff person for your, blanking out for words, your options. Thank you. Are there any new updates or business? And there are none. So with the one item, we've completed all the items on the agenda for this meeting. So I want to ask if there are other matters that comes before the meeting from board or staff. Looks like there are none. So our next meeting will be October 10th, 2024. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Perfect. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned.